The message traveled at the speed of light across the cold emptiness of space. It carried words of peace, greetings from a small blue planet, and the hope that someone out there was listening. The year was 2089, and humanity had been sending signals into the darkness for over a century. No one ever answered. In the great halls of the Galactic Council, located on a station the size of a small moon, representatives from 47 species gathered to discuss matters of trade, territory, and power. They came from worlds scattered across the galaxy. Some had scales, some had feathers, some existed as pure energy contained in mechanical shells. But they all shared one thing in common. They all knew about Earth, and they all agreed that Earth did not matter. "The humans are still broadcasting," said Councillor Vareth of the Velthari Dominion. He was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like stone and eyes that glowed with a soft orange light. "They have been doing so for decades. It is becoming annoying." "Let them broadcast," replied Ambassador Melindra of the Kireshi Federation. She resembled a tall bird with silver feathers and a voice like wind chimes. "They are primitives. They have barely left their own planet. They pose no threat to anyone." The council chamber was vast and circular, with seats rising in tiers around a central platform. Holographic displays showed star maps, trade routes, and the positions of various fleets. In one corner, almost too small to notice, was a tiny yellow dot labeled Sol System, Pre-Emergence Civilization. Pre-emergence. That was the official classification. It meant that humanity had not yet developed faster than light travel. It meant they were trapped in their own solar system. It meant they were irrelevant. Councillor Vareth stood and walked to the central platform. The orange glow in his eyes brightened as he spoke. "The Velthari Dominion requests permission to harvest resources from the Sol system," he announced. "The third planet contains significant quantities of water, metals, and organic compounds. The native population is primitive and will not resist effectively. We estimate a harvest time of 60 standard cycles." A murmur passed through the chamber. Resource harvesting was common practice. Primitive worlds were claimed and stripped of their valuable materials all the time. The natives were usually relocated, enslaved, or simply eliminated, depending on their usefulness. "Has formal contact been attempted?" asked the Melodari representative, a being made of crystalline light who spoke in harmonics that the translation systems struggled to process. Varath waved a dismissive hand. "There is no need for formal contact. They are pre-emergence. They have nothing to offer us. Their signals are just noise." "Those signals contain mathematical sequences," the Melodari pressed. "They contain music, art. They are clearly intelligent." "Intelligence is not the same as relevance," Vareth replied. "We are not here to make friends with every species that learns to count. We are here to serve the interests of the Council, and the Council's interests are served by acquiring resources." The vote was held. 31 species voted in favor, 12 abstained, 4 voted against. The motion passed. The Velthari Dominion was authorized to harvest Earth. 3 months later, a fleet of 200 Velthari warships entered the Sol system. They were massive vessels, each one a kilometer long, armed with plasma cannons that could melt through solid rock and shielded by energy barriers that could stop any weapon known to galactic civilization. Commander Tarkoth stood on the bridge of the flagship, the Dominion's Wrath. Through the viewing windows, he could see the distant glow of Earth's sun. Around him, his crew worked at their stations, monitoring sensors and weapons and navigation. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the third planet," reported his communications officer. "Ignore it," Tarkoth said without looking up from his tactical display. "Sir, the transmission is in multiple formats: radio, laser, and gravitational pulses. They are using mathematical sequences that appear designed to ensure we understand them." "I said ignore it." The communications officer hesitated. "Sir, they are asking for dialogue. They say they detected our approach 3 months ago. They are requesting peaceful contact." Tarkoth finally looked up. His stone-gray face showed no expression, but his orange eyes burned with annoyance. "They detected us 3 months ago? Impossible. Their technology cannot track ships at that distance." "Nevertheless, sir, that is what they claim. They also say—" The officer paused, reading the translation. They also say that if we approach with hostile intent, we will be met with defensive force. They urge us to reconsider. They say they do not want war. Laughter echoed across the bridge. Other officers turned to stare, amused by the idea that primitives would threaten a Velthari battle fleet. Defensive force, Tarkoth repeated, chuckling. With what? Rockets? Chemical explosives? They probably still use combustion engines. He walked to the command chair and sat down, dismissing the transmission with a wave. Continue approach. We will establish orbit around the third planet and begin resource assessment. If the natives resist, we will demonstrate the futility of resistance. 1 or 2 population centers destroyed should convince them to cooperate. The fleet continued inward, past the orbit of Neptune, past Uranus, past Saturn. They detected human satellites around several planets, small stations orbiting various moons, and what appeared to be mining operations in the asteroid belt. Primitive industry, the science officer reported. They are extracting metals from asteroids using mechanical drills and chemical processing. Estimated technological level is approximately 200 years behind current galactic standards. Tarkoth nodded, satisfied. This would be an easy harvest. As the fleet passed the orbit of Mars, another transmission arrived. This one was different. It was not a request for dialogue. It was a warning. Velthari Fleet, this is Admiral Chen Wei-Lin of the United Nations Space Defense Command. You have entered human territory. You have ignored our request for peaceful contact. You have continued on an approach vector consistent with hostile action. This is your final warning. If you do not alter course within the next 6 hours, we will interpret your approach as an act of war and respond accordingly. We do not want conflict. But we are prepared for it. Choose wisely. Commander Tarkoth listened to the translation with growing irritation. The arrogance of these primitives amazed him. Did they truly believe they could threaten a Velthari fleet? Did they not understand how outmatched they were? Delete the message, he ordered, and prepare the fleet for demonstration bombardment. We will target their orbital station first. Nothing lethal, just enough to show them that resistance is pointless. The fleet adjusted its formation. The flagship moved to the front, its plasma cannons charging with a low hum that vibrated through the deck plates. Around it, escort ships took up defensive positions. On Earth, in a bunker buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Chen Wei-Lin watched the approaching fleet on a holographic display. She was 63 years old, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen more than their share of conflict. She had commanded ships in 3 corporate wars, led the defense of Mars Colony during the Water Rebellion, and spent the last 20 years preparing for this exact moment. She had hoped it would never come. Admiral, the Velthari fleet has entered weapons range of Station Olympus, reported Captain Rodriguez, her tactical officer. They are charging plasma cannons. Chen nodded slowly. Have they responded to our final warning? No, Admiral, no response. She closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, they were hard and cold. Sound general quarters across all platforms. Activate the longbow network and open a channel to all railgun stations. Across the solar system, hidden in asteroids, buried beneath the surfaces of moons, and drifting in the darkness between planets, thousands of platforms received the activation signal. They were simple machines, really, just massive magnetic accelerators attached to reactors and targeting computers. They had no shields, no armor, no life support. They did not need any of those things. They only needed one thing: projectiles. Each platform carried hundreds of tungsten rods, 2 meters long and 20 centimeters thick. Pure metal, nothing fancy. But when those rods were accelerated to 15% of the speed of light, they became the most devastating weapons humanity had ever created. All stations report ready, Captain Rodriguez announced. Targets are locked. Awaiting your order, Admiral. Chen looked at the display. 200 alien warships, the most advanced technology in the galaxy, about to attack her world. About to kill her people. About to destroy everything humanity had built. She had tried to warn them. She had tried to give them every chance to turn back. They had ignored her, just like they had ignored every signal for the past century. They fired first, she said quietly, watching as the Velthari flagship released a bolt of plasma towards Station Olympus. The bolt was bright and beautiful, a streak of blue-white fire against the blackness of space. It never reached its target. "Fire!" Admiral Chen ordered. Across the solar system, 1,000 railguns spoke at once, and the first Velthari ship fell. The universe would never be the same. Commander Tarkoth had exactly 3 seconds to feel confused before his ship began to die. The plasma bolt from the Dominion's wrath was still traveling toward the human orbital station when the first railgun projectile struck. It hit an escort ship on the fleet's outer edge, a vessel called the Swift Vengeance that carried a crew of 300 Velthari soldiers. The projectile was moving at 15% of the speed of light. At that velocity, the 2-meter tungsten rod carried more kinetic energy than a nuclear weapon. It punched through the Swift Vengeance's shields as if they did not exist. It punched through the armor plating as if it were paper. It punched through the reactor core, the crew quarters, the bridge, and out the other side in less than 1/100th of a second. The ship did not explode. It simply ceased to exist. The kinetic energy transferred so quickly and so violently that the entire vessel was converted into an expanding cloud of superheated gas and spinning debris. Then 6 more escort ships died in the same instant. Tarkoth gripped the arms of his command chair as alarms screamed across the bridge. Warning lights flashed red. Officers shouted in confusion and terror. "Report!" he bellowed. "What is happening?" "7 ships destroyed!" the tactical officer screamed back. "No warning! No energy signatures! Something just hit them! Hit them with what?" Before anyone could answer, the flagship shuddered. A sound like thunder rolled through the hull, followed by the shriek of tearing metal. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut throughout the ship. "Hull breach on decks 4 through 15, someone shouted. "Direct penetration. Something went straight through us." Tarkoth stared at the damage report on his display. A perfect circular hole had been punched through 12 decks of his ship. The hole was exactly 20 centimeters wide. Whatever had made it had entered through the port side, passed through the shield generators, the secondary reactor, the medical bay, and the crew quarters, and exited through the starboard hull. 147 crew members were dead, and they had not even seen what killed them. "Evasive maneuvers," Tarkoth ordered. "All ships, scatter and return fire." The fleet tried to obey. Ships broke formation, their engines flaring as they attempted to become harder targets. Plasma cannons swiveled, searching for something to shoot at, but there was nothing to see. The enemy was invisible. More ships died. The Crimson Storm took 4 projectiles and broke apart. The Eternal Conquest was hit in the engine section and began spinning out of control before a second projectile finished it off. The Pride of Veltharis, a veteran warship that had survived 12 campaigns, was struck by 6 projectiles simultaneously and simply vanished in a flash of vaporized metal. In the command bunker on Earth, Admiral Chen watched the battle unfold on her tactical display. Blue dots represented human railgun platforms. Red dots represented Velthari ships. As she watched, red dots winked out one by one. 43 enemy vessels destroyed, Captain Rodriguez reported. 47-52. "Have they located any of our platforms?" Chen asked. "No, Admiral. They are firing blind. Their weapons cannot track our projectiles, and our platforms are too small and too dark for their sensors to detect." Chen nodded. The railgun platforms were deliberately simple. No shields meant no energy signature. No crew meant no life support, no heat, nothing to see. They were just lumps of metal drifting in space, indistinguishable from natural asteroids until they opened fire. And by the time they opened fire, it was far too late to do anything about it. On the Dominion's wrath, Commander Tarkoth watched his fleet die and felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. "Commander!" the communications officer shouted. "We are receiving a transmission from the planet. Put it through." Admiral Chen's face appeared on the main view screen. She looked calm, almost sad. "Commander of the Velthari fleet," she said. "This is Admiral Chen Wei-Lin of the United Nations Space Defense Command. You fired first on our civilian station. We have responded with proportional force. 114 of your ships have been destroyed in the last 90 seconds. 112 more are currently being targeted." Tarkoth stared at the human woman. Her face was lined with age, her hair gray, her uniform simple and undecorated. She looked like someone's grandmother. She had just killed thousands of his soldiers. You have two options, Chen continued. You can withdraw from our solar system immediately. If you do, we will not pursue. We will not destroy your remaining ships. You will be allowed to leave in peace. Your second option is to continue fighting. If you choose this, none of your ships will survive. Not one. I give you my word on that. She paused, and something that might have been regret crossed her face. I want you to understand something, Commander. We did not want this. We spent a century trying to talk to you. We sent messages of peace, of friendship, of hope. You ignored all of them. We warned you not to come here with hostile intent. You ignored that too. We gave you every chance to avoid this moment. You chose violence. Her eyes hardened. But we did not survive 10,000 years of war against ourselves by being weak. We did not climb to the top of our food chain by being gentle. We did not build a civilization by being kind. We learned to be all of those things, but we never forgot how to fight. And now you know why. She leaned forward slightly. Choose, Commander, peace or death. You have 30 seconds. The transmission ended. Tarkoth sat in his command chair, surrounded by the screaming of alarms and the shouting of his remaining crew. His fleet was being slaughtered by weapons he could not see, fired by enemies he could not find, using technology he did not understand. He was a proud Velthari warrior. His ancestors had conquered 100 worlds. His family had served in the Dominion's military for 20 generations. Surrender was not in his blood, but neither was stupidity. All ships, he said, his voice hollow. Withdraw. Maximum speed. Get us out of here. The survivors of the Velthari fleet turned and ran. 31 ships out of 200, their engines burning at full power, fleeing from a world they had dismissed as primitive. Behind them, the railgun platforms went silent. The targeting computers tracked the retreating ships but did not fire. Admiral Chen had given her word. In the command bunker, Captain Rodriguez let out a long breath. They are withdrawing, Admiral. 31 ships on course for the system edge. Should we pursue? No, Chen said quietly. Let them go. But Admiral, if we destroy them now, they cannot report back. They cannot tell the Council what happened here. Chen shook her head. I want them to report back. I want them to tell everyone exactly what happened here. I want the entire galaxy to know what we did today. She stood up and walked to the main display, watching the red dots retreat into the darkness. We have been ignored for 100 years, she continued. We sent peaceful messages, and they called us primitives. We asked for dialogue, and they authorized our extinction. They thought we were weak because we did not have their faster-than-light drives. They thought we were helpless because we did not have their plasma weapons. They thought we were nothing. Her voice hardened. Now they know better. Now they know that we have been watching them, learning about them, preparing for them. For 100 years, we knew they were out there, and we knew that someday they would come for us. So we built weapons, not to conquer, not to invade, just to survive. She turned to face her staff. The survivors will report what happened here. The Council will learn that 200 of their ships were destroyed in less than 15 minutes. They will analyze the battle and realize that they have no defense against kinetic weapons moving at relativistic speeds. They will understand that humanity is not a primitive civilization to be harvested. We are a threat. Captain Rodriguez frowned. Is that not dangerous? Will they not send a larger fleet? Perhaps, Chen admitted, but they will also do something else. They will finally listen to our signals. They will finally read the messages we have been sending for a century, and they will realize something important. What is that, Admiral? Chen smiled, but there was no joy in it. They will realize that we have been asking for peace all along, that we never wanted to fight, that we built these weapons because we had no choice, not because we wanted them. And maybe, just maybe, they will decide that talking to us is better than dying by the millions. She looked back at the display, where the last red dots were disappearing into the darkness. We won the battle today, but the war for our survival is just beginning. The next move belongs to them. Far away, racing toward the edge of the solar system, Commander Tarkos sat alone in his damaged quarters and composed a report. He described the battle in detail. He described the weapons that had destroyed his fleet. He described the message from the human admiral. and he included one final observation, one that would echo through the halls of the Galactic Council. The humans did not pursue us. They had the ability to destroy every ship in our fleet, and they chose not to. They offered us peace even as they killed our soldiers. They showed us mercy even as they demonstrated their power. He paused, his clawed fingers hovering over the console. I do not understand these creatures, but I know one thing for certain. They are not primitives. They are something far more dangerous. They are predators who have chosen to become peaceful. And there is nothing in this galaxy more terrifying than a predator who knows how to wait. He sent the report and began the long journey home, leaving behind the wreckage of his fleet and the dawning knowledge that the universe had just changed forever. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so silent. 47 species sat in their designated seats, arranged in rising tiers around the central platform. Holographic displays showed images that none of them wanted to believe. Wreckage drifting in space, damage reports scrolling endlessly, casualty figures that grew larger with each passing moment, 169 ships destroyed, over 50,000 Velthari soldiers dead. A fleet that should have conquered a primitive world, reduced to debris in less than 15 minutes. Counselor Varath stood at the central platform, his gray face pale and his orange eyes dim with shock. For the first time in his political career, he had no words. How is this possible? Demanded Ambassador Corinth of the Thessian Empire, a massive reptilian being covered in green scales. The humans are pre-emergence. They do not have faster-than-light travel. They do not have energy shields. How did they destroy a modern battle fleet? They used kinetic weapons, Vareth replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Projectiles. Metal rods accelerated to relativistic velocities. Confused murmurs spread through the chamber. Kinetic weapons were ancient technology. Most spacefaring civilizations had abandoned them thousands of years ago in favor of plasma cannons, particle beams, and antimatter torpedoes. Energy weapons were faster, more accurate, and more efficient. Kinetic weapons cannot penetrate modern shields, Corin scoffed. Our defensive systems can stop any projectile. Not these projectiles, Vareth said. The humans accelerated them to 15% of the speed of light. At that velocity, the kinetic energy overwhelms any shield we possess. The projectiles simply pass through as if the shields do not exist. The chamber fell silent again as the representatives processed this information. 15% of light speed, repeated the Melodari representative, their crystalline form pulsing with agitated light. That is substantial. The energy requirements alone would be enormous. The humans appear to have solved that problem, Vera said bitterly. They have thousands of these weapons platforms scattered throughout their solar system. We detected none of them before the battle. We detected none of them during the battle. Our sensors are designed to find energy signatures, heat emissions, communication signals. These platforms have none of those things. They are just lumps of metal in the darkness, invisible until they fire. Then we must develop new sensors, Corinth declared. We must find these platforms and destroy them. And how do we approach close enough to find them without being destroyed ourselves? Asked Ambassador Melindra of the Koreshi, her silver feathers ruffling with anxiety. The humans demonstrated that they can detect our ships at extreme range. They knew the Velthari fleet was coming months before it arrived. They will know if we approach again. Then we send a larger fleet. Corinth slammed his massive fist against his console. 10,000 ships, 100,000. We overwhelm them with numbers. And lose how many? The quiet voice came from the Melodari representative. Commander Tarkov's report indicates that the humans deliberately allowed the survivors to escape. They had the capability to destroy every ship in the fleet, and they chose not to. They showed mercy. Mercy? Corinth laughed, a harsh sound like rocks grinding together. You call the slaughter of 50,000 soldiers mercy? They were invaders, the Melodari replied calmly. They came to steal resources and destroy a civilization. The humans warned them repeatedly. They ignored every warning. What would you have done in their position, Ambassador? Corinth had no answer for that. There is something else, said a small voice from the lower tiers. It was the archivist, a member of the Lithari species, beings who devoted their entire existence to recording and preserving knowledge. The archivist was small and pale, with large, dark eyes and delicate fingers that could sort through data faster than any computer. The human signals, the archivist continued, the ones we have been ignoring for a century. I have reviewed them all. There are thousands of transmissions. I believe the council should hear what they contain. Vareth waved a dismissive hand. Primitive nonsense. Greetings and mathematics. We have seen such signals before. No, the archivist said firmly. You have not seen these. They activated a holographic display at the center of the chamber. A timeline appeared, stretching back over 100 years. The first human signals were simple, the archivist began. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, basic physics, standard first contact protocols. We classified them as typical pre-emergence communication and filed them away. Images appeared on the display, radio telescopes pointing at the stars. Scientists gathered around primitive computers, hope and excitement on alien faces that were somehow familiar. 40 years later, the signals became more complex. The humans had detected our presence in their region of space. They were not certain at first, but they suspected. Their messages changed. They began asking questions. Who are you? Where do you come from? Can we meet? Can we talk? More images. Space stations being built. Ships launching from Earth. A growing civilization reaching out into the darkness. We ignored them, the archivist continued. We classified their signals as noise and continued with our business. But the humans did not stop. They kept sending messages, and they began to change. The timeline shifted forward. The signals on display became different, more urgent, more specific. 60 years ago, the humans detected weapon signatures in their outer solar system. They did not know who we were, but they knew we were dangerous. Their messages reflected this. A recording played, a human voice translated into council standard. To any civilizations receiving this transmission, we have detected weapons fire near our outer planets. We do not know your intentions. We hope for peaceful contact, but we are preparing to defend ourselves. Please respond. We do not want war. The chamber was utterly silent. 40 years ago, the archivist pressed on, the humans detected a Thessian scout ship in their asteroid belt. They tracked it for 6 months. They learned its capabilities, and they sent this message. Another recording. We know you are watching us. We know you have faster ships and better technology. We know you think we are primitives, but we want you to understand something. We have spent our entire history fighting each other. We have become very, very good at killing. We do not want to turn those skills against you. Please just talk to us. Let us be friends. But if you force us to fight, we will not lose. We ignored that too, the archivist said. We ignored every message. For 100 years, the humans begged us for peaceful contact, and we dismissed them as irrelevant. They displayed one final recording, dated just 5 years ago. The Velthari Dominion has been authorized to harvest our world. We know this. We intercepted your council transmissions years ago. We understand that you plan to take our resources, enslave or kill our people, and erase our civilization from existence. The voice was calm, steady, without anger or fear. We could have attacked you first. We have the capability. Our weapons can reach your territory. We could have struck without warning and destroyed your closest outpost before you even knew we existed. But we chose not to, because we are not like you. We do not want empire. We do not want conquest. We only want to survive. A pause, then the voice continued. This is our final message before your fleet arrives. We are begging you one last time. Turn back. Go home. Leave us in peace. If you do, we promise to never use our weapons against you. We will remain in our solar system. We will not threaten your territories. We will be good neighbors. Another pause, longer this time. But if you come for us, we will defend ourselves, and you will not survive. This is not a threat. It is a statement of fact. We have prepared for 100 years. We know your ships, your weapons, your tactics. We know exactly how to kill you. We desperately hope we do not have to. The recording ended. The chamber remained silent. They tried, the archivist said softly. For 100 years they tried to make peace with us. They did everything right. They reached out with open hands, they offered friendship. They warned us again and again, and we treated them like animals. Counselor Vareth's gray face had gone even paler. We did not know. You did not want to know, the archivist corrected. The signals were available. The data was in our archives. Anyone could have reviewed them at any time. But no one cared. The humans were primitives. Their words did not matter. Ambassador Corin stirred uncomfortably. What does this change? They have still killed 50,000 Velthari soldiers. They have still proven themselves to be dangerous. We must respond with force. Must we? Asked the Melodari. Did you not hear the recordings? They do not want war. They never wanted war. They built their weapons because we gave them no choice. And even after we attacked them, they offered peace. Peace with primitives? Primitives who just destroyed one of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. The Melodari's form pulsed with sharp light. I think we need to reconsider our definition of primitive. The debate continued for hours. The Hawks demanded retaliation. The moderates urged caution. The Doves suggested that perhaps for the first time in Council history, it might be worth actually talking to a pre-emergent species. And then, in the middle of the argument, a new signal arrived. Council members, the communications officer announced, we are receiving a transmission from the Sol system. It is addressed directly to this chamber. Put it through, said the council speaker, an ancient being who rarely spoke, but whose word was law. Admiral Chen Wei-Lin appeared on the central display. She was standing in what appeared to be a simple office, with a window behind her showing the blue curve of Earth. Representatives of the Galactic Council, she began. My name is Admiral Chen Wei-Lin. 11 days ago, your Velthari fleet attacked our solar system with the intention of harvesting our resources and eliminating our civilization. We defended ourselves. We are sorry for the lives lost, but we do not apologize for our actions. She paused, letting her words settle. I am contacting you now because we believe there is still a chance for peace. We have demonstrated that we can defend ourselves. We have proven that we are not helpless primitives to be exploited. Now we hope you will finally be willing to listen. She took a deep breath. We do not want war with the Council. We never did. We want trade, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation. We want to be your partners, not your enemies. We have so much to offer each other. But we will not negotiate from a position of weakness. We will not beg for mercy. If you send another fleet against us, we will destroy it. If you send 10 fleets, we will destroy them all. We have spent 100 years preparing for this moment, and we are ready to defend our home against any threat. Her expression softened slightly. But we would rather not. We would rather talk. We would rather find a way forward together. So here is our proposal. Send a diplomatic delegation to a neutral location. We will meet them there. We will discuss terms for peaceful coexistence, and we will show you that humanity can be the best friend the galaxy has ever known. She straightened. The choice is yours. War or peace, death or friendship. We await your answer. The transmission ended. The council chamber erupted into chaos. But in the middle of the shouting and arguing, the Melodari representative quietly drafted a response. It simply said, "We will come." The neutral station hung in the darkness between stars, a spinning cylinder of metal and glass that belonged to no one. It had been built centuries ago for exactly this purpose. A meeting place for species who did not trust each other, a location where enemies could become friends or at least stop being enemies. The council delegation arrived first. 2,000 warships escorted the diplomatic vessel, a show of force meant to remind humanity of the power they faced. Plasma cannons charged and ready, shields at maximum. Sensors sweeping the void for any sign of threat. They found nothing. Empty space, distant stars, no human presence at all. The delegates gathered in the station's main conference chamber. Councillor Varath represented the Velthari, his gray face set in hard lines. Ambassador Corinth loomed in the corner, his scales gleaming under the artificial lights. The Melodari pulsed gently, their crystalline form casting rainbows across the walls. Representatives from a dozen other species filled the remaining seats. They are not coming, Corinth growled after an hour of waiting. This is a trap. We should leave. Patience, the Melodari chimed. They will come. How do you know? They could be positioning weapons around us right now. They could be one ship approaching. The tactical officer reported from the fleet. Human design. No weapons signatures detected. It is very small. The delegates moved to the viewing windows. In the distance, a single vessel emerged from the darkness. It was perhaps 50 meters long, a graceful dart of white metal with the blue and green symbol of Earth painted on its hull. Compared to the massive warships surrounding the station, it looked like a toy. One ship, Varath said slowly. They sent one ship. Either very confident or very foolish, Corinth muttered. The Melodari's light pulsed with something like amusement. Or perhaps they are making a point. The human vessel docked with the station. A few minutes later, the conference chamber doors opened and a single human walked in. Admiral Chen Wei-Lin was smaller than most of the delegates had expected. She was old by human standards. Her hair gray and her face lined with decades of responsibility. She wore a simple uniform with no decorations, no medals, no symbols of rank, except for a small pin on her collar. She walked to the empty seat at the table and sat down without ceremony. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I know this is not easy for any of you." Corinth leaned forward, his massive form blocking the light. "You killed 50,000 Velthari soldiers. You destroyed 169 ships. And you expect us to thank you for inviting us to talk?" "No," Chen replied calmly. "I expect you to thank me for not killing all of them." Silence fell over the chamber. Corinth's scales flushed with anger, but he did not respond. "Let us be honest with each other," Chen continued. "Your fleet came to harvest my planet, to take our resources, enslave our people, and erase our civilization. We defended ourselves. Every ship we destroyed, every soldier we killed, was in direct response to your attack on our home. We fired second. We warned you first. We offered you every chance to turn back." She looked around the table, meeting each delegate's eyes in turn. "I am not here to apologize. I am here to ensure it never happens again." Vareth stirred. "You speak as if you have won. You have not. The fleet we sent was a fraction of our power. We could send 10 times that number, 100 times. "Yes," Chen agreed. "You could, and we would destroy them all. Impossible. You cannot have enough weapons to—" "We have been preparing for 100 years, Chen interrupted. "We knew you were coming. We watched you ignore our signals and classify us as primitives. We saw you authorize our destruction, and we prepared." She touched a control on the table, and a holographic display activated. It showed the solar system, with Earth at the center. "We have 17,000 railgun platforms distributed throughout our territory. Each one carries between 200 and 500 projectiles. Each projectile can destroy a capital ship with a single hit. Do the math, counselor." The delegates stared at the display. The numbers were staggering. "You are bluffing," Corinth said, but his voice was uncertain. "Would you like to test that theory?" Chen asked mildly. "Your fleet is currently positioned in a defensive formation around the station. I can tell you exactly where each ship is located. I can tell you which ones have damaged reactor cores, which ones have crew shortages, which ones are running low on fuel. I know more about your fleet than your own commanders do." She leaned back in her chair. "We are not bluffing. We never were. The question is whether you are willing to accept that and move forward, or whether you want to keep losing ships until you believe us." The Melodari representative spoke into the tense silence. "Admiral Chen, you say you do not want war. What do you want?" Chen's expression softened. For the first time, she looked less like a warrior and more like a tired old woman who had seen too much. "What do we want?" She sighed. "We want what we have always wanted, what we asked for in every signal we sent for 100 years. We want to be recognized as a sovereign species. We want a seat on the Galactic Council. We want to trade with other civilizations, learn from them, share what we know. We want to be part of the galactic community." She paused. "We want to be friends." Corinth laughed harshly. "Friends? After what you have done?" "What we have done," Chen said quietly, "is survive. Nothing more. We did not seek this fight. We did not want it. But when you came for us, we defended ourselves. And yes, we won. That does not mean we want to keep fighting." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data chip, which she placed on the table. This contains a complete database of human medical research, treatments for diseases your species have struggled with for centuries, genetic therapies that could extend lifespans, cures that we developed while you were ignoring our signals. She pulled out another chip. This contains agricultural techniques for growing food in extreme environments. We have learned to farm on frozen moons and in asteroid habitats. Your outer colonies are struggling with food shortages. We can help. A third chip. Engineering data, new methods of construction, material science, power generation. We may not have faster than light travel, but we have solved problems that your scientists have not even considered. She pushed all three chips toward the center of the table. This is what we offer. Not weapons, not threats. Knowledge that can help billions of people across the galaxy. We share this freely, with no conditions except one. And what condition is that? Varath asked suspiciously. Recognize us as equals. Give us a seat on the council. Treat us as partners instead of primitives. Chen's eyes were steady. That is all we ask. That is all we have ever asked. The delegates looked at each other. The chips sat on the table, glowing faintly in the chamber's soft light. This is absurd, Corinth growled. We cannot simply— Why not? The Melodari interrupted. The Admiral has demonstrated that humanity can defend itself. She has offered valuable knowledge in exchange for peaceful recognition. What logical objection can you raise? They are not part of the Council. They do not follow our laws, our customs. Then teach us, Chen said. We are willing to learn. We are willing to adapt. We just want a chance to prove ourselves. Varath spoke slowly, as if the words were being dragged out of him. The Velthari Dominion has pride. We do not easily forget insults. You have humiliated us. No, Chen replied. You humiliated yourselves. You came to conquer a world you had never spoken to, never understood, never even tried to know. You lost because you underestimated us. That is not our failure. That is yours. Varath's orange eyes flared, but he did not argue. I am not asking you to forget what happened, Chen continued. I am asking you to learn from it. We can be enemies forever, sending fleets against each other until one of us is destroyed. Or we can find a way to work together. The choice is yours. The silence stretched on. The delegates exchanged glances, communicated through subtle gestures, and pheromone signals and encrypted data bursts. The fate of billions hung in the balance. Finally, the Melodari spoke. I believe the Admiral has made a reasonable offer. The Melodari Collective supports humanity's request for recognition. As do the Kirashi, Ambassador Melindra added, her silver feathers settling into a posture of agreement. One by one, other species added their support. The Atolan, the Vestri, the Harmonious Choir, the Wandering Minds. Species who had joined the Council for protection, not conquest, who saw something in humanity that resonated with their own values. The Velthari and their allies remained silent. It seems we have a majority, the Melodari observed, but I believe the Admiral deserves to hear from the Velthari directly. Counselor Varath? Varath sat motionless for a long moment. His gray face was unreadable. His orange eyes stared at the data chips on the table, at the human woman who had killed so many of his people, at the future that hung between them. The Velthari Dominion, he said finally, does not accept this proposal. Chen nodded slowly, unsurprised. However, Varath continued, we will not oppose it. The matter will be decided by the Council. If the Council recognizes humanity, we will abide by that decision. He stood abruptly. But know this, Admiral. There are many in the Dominion who will never forget what you have done. Many who will spend their lives seeking revenge. You have made enemies today that will last for generations. I know, Chen said quietly. I am sorry for that. But I could not let my people die just to avoid making you uncomfortable. Varath stared at her for a long moment. Then, without another word, he walked out of the chamber. The meeting continued, but the hardest part was over. By the time the delegates departed, humanity had won something more valuable than any battle. A chance. A chance to prove that the species most capable of violence could also be the most committed to peace. 3 months passed. The galaxy held its breath. The Velthari Dominion had been quiet since the diplomatic meeting, but rumors spread through the council like wildfire. Ships were being mobilized. Alliances were being formed. Old enemies were setting aside their differences to face a common threat. Humanity. The final count came to 15,000 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled in council history. Velthari cruisers, Thessian dreadnoughts, Karathi destroyers. Ships from a dozen species who feared what humanity might become if left unchecked. They gathered at the edge of human space, a wall of metal and fire that stretched across the stars. Plasma cannons hummed with deadly potential. Antimatter torpedoes waited in their launchers. Shields overlapped in a defensive web that nothing could penetrate. Nothing except tungsten rods moving at 15% of light speed. Commander Tarkov stood on the bridge of the new Velthari flagship, the Dominion's Vengeance. He had been given command of the combined fleet, a honor born from his experience against human weapons. He was the only commander who had faced them and survived. He did not feel honored. He felt afraid. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. "We are prepared to begin the assault." Tarkov nodded slowly. 15,000 ships. Surely that would be enough. Surely the humans could not destroy them all. But deep in his heart, he was not sure. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the Sol system." Of course they were. The humans knew they were coming. They had probably known for months. "Put it through." Admiral Chen's face appeared on the view screen. She looked older than before, more tired, as if the weight of what was about to happen was pressing down on her shoulders. She was not on Earth this time. She was on a small ship, drifting alone in the darkness between the fleet and the solar system. "Commander Tarkov," she said, "we meet again." "Admiral Chen." Tarkov's voice was cold. "You know why we are here." "I know." She nodded slowly. "I know that you have assembled the largest fleet in galactic history. I know that you have come to destroy my species once and for all. And I know that you are afraid." Tarkov's claws tightened on his command chair. "The Velthari fear nothing." "Then why did you bring 15,000 ships? If you truly believed you could defeat us, 1,000 would have been enough. 2,000. But 15,000? She shook her head. "You are not confident. You are desperate." "Enough talk." Tarkov leaned forward. "You have two choices, Admiral. Surrender now and we will grant your species a quick death. Resist and we will burn your worlds until nothing remains." Chen was silent for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was soft, almost sad. "I am going to tell you a secret, Commander. Something I should have told you at our first meeting. Something I hoped I would never have to say." She touched a control and a tactical display appeared beside her face. It showed the space between the fleet and the solar system. Empty, according to Velthari sensors. Nothing but the single human ship where Chen was broadcasting from. "Your sensors are very good," Chen continued. "The best in the galaxy. They can detect energy signatures, heat emissions, gravitational anomalies. They can find a single life form on a dead moon from halfway across a solar system." She paused. "But they cannot detect objects that produce no energy, no heat, no gravity fluctuations. Objects that are just there, waiting." Tarkov felt a chill run through him. "We mapped your approach 6 hours ago," Chen said. "We knew exactly which route you would take, which formation you would use, which ships would be in which positions. We positioned our platforms accordingly." The tactical display changed. Suddenly it was filled with thousands of blue dots, scattered throughout the space the fleet would have to cross. Each dot represented a railgun platform. Each platform was capable of destroying a capital ship with a single shot. "There are 12,000 platforms between you and Earth," Chen said quietly. "Each one has a target lock on a specific ship in your fleet. If I give the order, every ship in your formation will be destroyed in less than 30 seconds." Tarkov stared at the display. 12,000 platforms. 15,000 ships. The math was terrifying. "You could fire first," Chen acknowledged. "Your plasma cannons have longer range than our railguns. You could destroy my ship, destroy the platforms closest to you, perhaps even damage some of our inner defenses. But you would lose the first wave of your fleet in the exchange, and then the second wave. And then the third. And by the time your survivors reached Earth, There would be no survivors. She leaned forward, her eyes locked on the camera. I am not telling you this to threaten you, Commander. I am telling you this because I want you to understand something. We could have fired 6 hours ago. We could have destroyed your entire fleet before you even knew we were there. Every ship, every soldier, every dream of revenge, gone in an instant. Her voice cracked slightly. But we did not fire. We are not going to fire. Because we do not want this war. We never wanted it. And even now, after everything you have done, after everything you have tried to do, we are still hoping for peace. Tarkov sat frozen in his command chair. Around him, his bridge crew stared at the tactical display in horror. 12,000 platforms. They had not detected a single one. I know what you are thinking, Chen continued. You are thinking that this is impossible, that we are bluffing, that no species would build this many weapons and then choose not to use them. She smiled, but there were tears in her eyes. That is what makes us human, Commander. We spent 10,000 years learning to kill each other. We invented weapons that could destroy our entire civilization. And then, at the last moment, we chose not to use them. Again and again, we walked to the edge of destruction, looked into the abyss, and stepped back. Not because we were weak, because we understood that the greatest victory is the one you do not have to fight for. She stood, her small frame somehow filling the view screen. So here is my offer. Turn around, go home. Tell the Council that you came to destroy humanity and found us ready, waiting, and unwilling to fight. Tell them that we showed you mercy when we could have shown you death. Tell them that we chose peace when we could have chosen revenge. She spread her hands. And then, if you are willing, come back without your weapons. Come back with traders and scientists and artists. Come back ready to learn and teach and build. Come back as friends. Her voice softened. We have so much to offer each other, Commander. So much we could build together. Cures for diseases that have plagued your species for millennia. Technologies that could transform your worlds. Ideas that could change the way you think about the universe. She stepped closer to the camera. But more than that, we could show you something you have never seen. A species that chose to be kind, that chose to forgive, that chose to hope, even when hope seemed foolish. She extended her hand toward the screen, as if reaching across the void. Take my hand, Commander. Not as a conquered enemy, but as a partner. Let us build something new together, something better than either of us could create alone. Silence filled the bridge of the Dominion's vengeance. Tarkov stared at the human woman on the screen, at her extended hand, at the tears running down her weathered face. He thought about his soldiers, about the ships under his command, about the families waiting back home. He thought about the wreckage of his first fleet, drifting forever in human space. He thought about the recordings he had heard, the signals humanity had sent for 100 years, greetings and warnings and pleas for peace, ignored and dismissed and forgotten. He thought about the railgun platforms surrounding his fleet, 12,000 weapons of absolute destruction, silent and patient in the darkness. And then he thought about the choice the humans had made, the choice to not fire, the choice to hope, the choice to extend a hand instead of a weapon. Slowly, Commander Tarkov stood. He walked to the communications console. He reached out with one clawed hand and touched the transmit button. All ships, he said, power down weapons, disengage targeting systems. We are standing down. The bridge erupted in confusion. Officers protested. Allies demanded explanations. The combined fleet's formation dissolved into chaos as ships broke away, uncertain and afraid. But Tarkov ignored them all. He turned back to the view screen, where Admiral Chen still waited, her hand still extended. Admiral, he said slowly, the Velthari Dominion accepts your offer. We will return home. We will tell the Council what we witnessed here today. And when we come back, he paused, searching for words in a language he had never learned to speak. When we come back, we will come as friends. 1 year later, Admiral Chen Wei-Lin, now Ambassador Chen, took her seat at the Galactic Council for the first time. Humanity had been granted full recognition. Trade agreements were being negotiated. Scientific exchanges had begun. The first human medical teams were already treating diseases on Velthari colonies. The railgun platforms remained in place. Humanity had learned that peace required strength, and they would not make the mistake of being weak again. But they had also proven something the galaxy had never expected, that the species most capable of violence could also be the most committed to peace, that the greatest weapon was not the one you fired, but the one you chose not to fire. After the ceremony, a young Velthari officer approached Chen. She was Commander Tarkot's daughter, assigned to the new cultural exchange program. "Ambassador," she said hesitantly, "may I ask you a question?" Chen smiled warmly. "Of course. When my father brought his fleet to destroy your world, you had the power to kill everyone. Every ship, every soldier, every one of us." The young officer's orange eyes searched Chen's face. "Why did you not use it? After everything we tried to do to you, why did you show us mercy?" Chen looked out the window at the stars, at the vast galaxy that was finally opening to her people. "Because we wanted to see what we could build together more than we wanted to see what we could destroy." She put a gentle hand on the young Velthari's shoulder. "Welcome to humanity, child. We are glad you are here." Outside, the stars shone down on a galaxy that was finally beginning to understand. Humanity had arrived, not as conquerors, not as destroyers, as something far more powerful, as friends.